West Wales, Eluned Morgan, after what has been a busy weekend for you. Shemai Bordada, just back from the Labour conference.
Bordada, yes, I've been there all weekend, and it was actually, quite buoyant mood. Actually, people are up for a fight. They recognise that things, could be going better, but everybody was right. Come on, then, bring it on.
Yeah, and I think the language that's been used, it really is, you could tell that there's certainly an election in Wales next year. It's a case of, right, who do you want to go with? That was very much the rhetoric that I was getting from the snippets and the sound bites that I've heard. We've talked about it here on The Breakfast Show. It's going to be a tough couple of months, but you're up for it.
Yeah, definitely. And, I do think people have to make a decision here about what direction they want to take the country in. There is a massive risk if you go with reform. They've got no leader in Wales. They've got no policies in Wales. That is really just chucking up the dice and just hoping that they're going to land in the right place. And because actually these things matter. We're talking about public services. We're talking about people's jobs. We're talking about things that people rely on, their hospitals, their GPs, their education. And yeah, it's tough at the moment, but my God, you put this country in under the charge of a whole bunch of people who've never been near politics before, got no managerial experience. That is one hell of a risk for people to take. Now, maybe they want to take that risk, but by God, they've got to be ready for the consequences if it all goes wrong.
Yeah. Conversely, then, in opposition in the Senedd, you've had Plaid Cymru as members opposite you for some time. What's your take on those people that might be drifting towards more of a nationalist party and that party for Wales?
Well, look, what we saw last year is a huge amount of extra money coming from the UK Labour government. And, £1.6 billion, that was to help us to support our health, our education, our social services. And they tried to block it. They voted with the Tories to try and block it. And I just think, come on, guys, if you want to be grown up and do serious politics, you can't be messing about. This is not student politics. This is people's real lives. So they were tested last year. It'll be interesting to see how they go this year, but they failed the test last year. And I think that's the thing, is what we've got is experience. But what I recognise is we've also got to offer a different vision for the future. There's a new generation in town now. There's been a lot of people, almost half of the Labour group is leaving because most of them are pensioners. They've been there a long time. They've done a great job, but it's time for some fresh blood now. And one of the great things in Labour Party conference was that there was a whole bunch of new candidates who are really excited, really full of enthusiasm. So it's a new chapter, I think, in the history of the Labour Party in Wales.
Yeah, and I suppose that is the perks of all of these conferences. It's conference season now. So you get to be around your peers. You get to see who's coming up with the ideas. Give us a bit of insight then as to what actually happens at a conference.
So it's an opportunity to set out your stall to the people in the audience. Now, don't forget, this audience is a British audience, so they don't know anything about what we get up to in Wales because the British media tend to just completely ignore us. So, I just find it really funny. You've got Rachel Reeves going, oh, look, we're going to have free breakfast and we're going to have a youth guarantee and we're going to have educational maintenance allowance. And you just say, we've been doing this for years, so nobody pays a blind bit of attention to it. So it's really good to be able to tell them, look, we're getting on with this stuff. You might think it's clever and good, but we've been doing it for a long time. So, that's an opportunity for us to set out our stall and tell everybody else in the Labour Party what we've been doing. It's also a chance to meet UK government ministers in a kind of more informal environment to kind of go, come on, guys, we need a bit of support here, or what are you thinking on this? Or so you can have those kind of informal chats. And then there's the kind of bonding of the kind of the Welsh Labour team. So a lot of Welsh Labour delegates go up there, and as I say, whole group of new Senedd wannabes were there, and that's great to be able to just feed off their enthusiasm. And obviously there's lots and lots of media speaking, and all of a sudden, the British media have woken up to the reality of Wales. So yeah, it's pretty full on, I must say, but great.
Yeah, you mentioned those new candidates. Of course, with the new constitution now of the Senedd come this next election, there's a big list for every different constituency. So I imagine that there are lots of new faces there.
There were, yeah, and real enthusiasm. Lots of, for example, leaders of local councils who've got a lot of experience, so they'd be bringing that to the table. But then lots of young people who are bringing new ideas. So all of those things are, I think, really, really exciting. And obviously, we will be getting on with selecting those candidates very soon.
Amazing. You mentioned there about free school meals and about the education maintenance allowance. These are things that already exist here in Wales. And of course, there's the PEMS poverty report, Words into Action, that's been released also.
Yeah, so this was one of the things I did on Friday. I was in Have a Hub, just welcoming that report by the Citizens Advice Bureau and setting out some of the things we're trying to do within the confines of the powers we've got. So, we've been doing free school breakfast for 21 years. We're now doing free school meals. That saves the average person £800 per child. We've got school essentials grants that helps people with their school uniforms. £1 bus fare now for younger people. So that's really helpful. And obviously there's always free prescriptions, and we help a lot of people with paying their council tax as well. So there's lots of things we're doing already in Wales. I think we've probably got to remind them that all of those are political choices, and, all of those could go if somebody else gets elected in May.
Yeah, and I suppose the follow-up then is, will the tide ever turn so that we don't need so many grants and that actually these families can sustain themselves? I suppose that is, the holy grail of a wonderful, prosperous community where we don't need these things.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really where I'd like to get to. And the way you do that is by providing quality jobs. That's the way through it. If people get quality jobs, they don't have to rely on this. So we've got to get more people into work. We've got to give them the skills to get into work. We've got to make sure that they're ready for work. We've got this youth guarantee, again, Rachel Reeves saying, look at us, we're going to introduce youth guarantee. We've been doing that for ages. So we know 60,000 people or so have already been helped. But that's really important, because I don't think you can just say, go and get a job. Some people need to be really supported into jobs. A lot of people have mental health issues. In fact, one of the things we've done is to really put massive support into mental health, and over 92% of younger people now get support after within 28 days. They're miles away from that in England. It used to be terrible in Wales as well, but that's improved massively. And when it comes to adults, it's about 95%. So, getting in there early so the problem doesn't get worse, because I recognize, it's really difficult for people if they're suffering with mental health issues to kind of have the up and go to kind of get out there and go into work. So we've got to support them. But actually, one of the ways of helping mental health is to make sure you've got a purpose in life, that you've got a reason to support and help other people. There's a kind of classic list of how you support yourself with mental health, and giving back to others is on that list.
Yeah, well, hopefully that tide will turn sooner rather than later. And you mentioned about having a purpose there, and people coming together and supporting that. There's been 25 years of the Pembrokeshire Coastal Forum. Now, I know about the Coastal Forum because I've interviewed some of the members, Holly Skirm in particular, when different projects come about. But for those that might not be aware of the Coastal Forum, what is it?
So this is an organisation that was set up 25 years ago. And what was amazing was that they had the celebration last Friday in Haverfordwest, celebrating those 25 years. And I was at the first meeting, actually, 25 years ago when I was an MEP. But what it is organisations that have come together in Pembrokeshire who recognise the challenges. And don't forget, 25 years ago, it was looking pretty grim in Pembrokeshire. We had the closure of lots of the refineries, lots of jobs going. We had the Sea Empress disaster. And, what did that look like for the world? How was that going to affect tourism? So lots of these businesses and organizations came together to say, right, what are we going to do about this? And over the years, they've come together to promote things like marine renewable energy, to look at the way we need to make sure we've got the education and skills in our communities to deal with coastal issues, making sure we have responsible recreation. So, using sports in a responsible way. But why not? There's some real opportunities there in relation to tourism, and then water quality, which is obviously another really important issue for us in Pembrokeshire. So it's an organization that really gets things done and makes things happen, and focuses on one project at a time, and it's been successful.
Yeah, we've got a wonderful coastline. We've got wonderful ecology, wonderful wildlife. We are an industrial centre. The offshore wind farm, we know that there's going to be more capabilities for testing and for storing. So they're going to play an just as vital part as they have done over the last 25 years, going forward for 25 years and beyond, no doubt.
That's right. I think that's right.
Yeah. And so that was your Friday, Sit-ins Advice at Pembrokeshire Coastal Forum. Over the weekend, then, you got to celebrate with some local produce.
I did, but before that, on the Friday, guess what I did? I filled loads of local potholes.
Was that also on the Friday? I love that.
That's on the Friday. So what was amazing, listen, people get so annoyed about potholes. I mean, we all get really angry when we've got to change the tires on our cars. And so one of the things I've done since I became First Minister was just to say, come on, let's sort it out. So we put a lot of extra money into providing local authorities with the power to fill potholes. So it was great, actually. I was able to actually go and fill a pothole myself on the road into Pembrokeshire College. And it was great doing that with the council workers who do this day in, day out. I happen to be there on a lovely day. These poor sods are doing it in the middle of winter. So it's great that the money is there now, and I hope people will be seeing the difference on their streets in the next few months, because what I'm interested in is delivery, making a difference, and this was one of the areas I said, come on, this is something we've got to sort.
Yeah, I feel like it needs a little plaque, like whenever you open up other buildings, other institutions, as filled by First Minister Eluned Morgan. One thing that's great about hearing you fill the pothole in is that I had a chat with you, must have been August of last year, so a long time ago, and you said then we're going to be filling the potholes, and here you are, literally filling one yourself.
That's right. No, and I've been doing it all over the country, so it's great.
So you definitely earned the good produce then when you found yourself down in Narberth.
Oh, it was amazing. So I went to Narberth Food Festival, which was an amazing event, and great to see all local producers there, but also lots of people in the community supporting that food festival that's been going on for a long time now. And there was a real buzz there. So that was a great opportunity to meet some people and to thank the volunteers who work so hard to make sure that gets up and running.
Yeah, I've seen some of the images. It looks amazing. I'll take the opportunity to shout out Ellen and Jane, who I know were doing demonstrations on one of the days as well. And did you sample any fudge, for example? What is it that took your fancy?
I didn't just sample it, I bought some. So I've been tucking into that as my little treat at the end of the day. So yeah, certainly the fudge took my fancy. I had some tacos, which were lovely. So lots and lots of wonderful produce. And, it was a nice size festival. I'd been to the Abergavenny Food Festival the week before, which is a mammoth event. But this felt much more community and local.
Oh, amazing. So it's a busy weekend. You've been away, you've been at the Labour conference also, and then you're straight back to the Senedd. How's your next 7 days looking?
Well, to be honest, I've been just falling into things since then. Obviously, yesterday I had First Minister's questions, and usually I spend a lot of time on weekends preparing for that, but obviously I didn't have that time, so I had to prepare on the train on the way back, and it's always a relief to get that over. I must say, it's always quite a brutal event. You never know what's coming at you on a Tuesday, but lots of other things going on this week, and hopefully I'll get a chance to tell you about those next week.
Really looking forward to that. Thank you so much as ever for your time on a Wednesday morning. You've picked another song for us, which we're going to play after we do a traffic update. But what is it and why have you picked it?
So this is Stevie Wonder, signed, sealed, delivered. I'm a massive Stevie Wonder fan. I actually managed to go and see him perform in Cardiff over the summer, which was brilliant. And I just love his enthusiasm, his optimism, his really bright view on life. And I just think this is a great classic song.
I love that. And you've given me food for thought as to a question to ask you next time is, what does preparation for First Minister's questions look like? We'll put a pin in that one for another Wednesday here. Eluned Morgan, MS for Midwest Wales, First Minister, thank you so much for joining us once again on The Breakfast Show.
Diolch yn fawr.
Wonderful Wednesday, sponsored by Price and Calway Solicitors.